give you the markets update now. Investors hoping for an upbeat start to the week. In the last session, the Rand pared losses while the JSE rallied along the global markets after the latest U.S. inflation data showed continued signs of cooling. And that's positive news, closing off the first half of the year on a positive note. Let's speak now to JustOneLap founder Simon Brown, who's going to give us a quick update on how the JSE is performing in early trade. Simon, good morning to you. That quick overview of how the markets have opened this morning after closing in the green on Friday.
Morning, Polly. We are mostly green this morning. The overall market's up 0.5%. Resources leading the way, up 0.2%. This after a fairly horror week for resources last week. And we've got financials up 0.5%. The decliner here is our Indy 25, the industrial stocks coming under a bit of a pressure. This morning, Rand's picked up a few cents across the board. 18.77 against the dollar, 23.79 against sterling, and 20.42 against the euro. Commodities a little bit softer this morning. Gold 1,922, Brent 95.23, and platinum actually picking up a little at 1,223, and palladium under a bit of pressure at $903 an ounce.
Let's quickly launch into company news. Mondi announcing the completion of the sale of 3 Russian converting operations. Now, talk us through those developments, Simon, given that some companies have opted to leave Russia after fearing since the war started.
Yeah, I mean, Mondi's actually had a fair bit of operations in Russia, and they were good, profitable operations. But as you pointed out, the war started. That changed the picture quite markedly. They announced in December that they were selling some assets. They've now concluded that sale. They've received the money. It's about 40 million euros. It's at about 850 million ZAR. So nice income from them there. They've still got one more asset to go, and that really is their biggest and most profitable. And whilst I think there's probably a lot of folks who want the asset, I think they're probably fighting over price because it's been a good profit center for Mondi, and they're probably trying to get a good price from that. But it is almost done, and they'll probably conclude by the end of this year and finally have exited Russia in its entirety.
Let's talk De Beers and the Botswana government. They've agreed in principle on sales agreement, in particular mining licenses. Help us make sense of those developments after dire warnings, I think, from the Botswana government side, which has been threatening that this deal might actually fall off.
Yeah, so Botswana, the biggest producer of diamonds in the world, and those diamonds go to De Beers. And in fact, they've got a joint venture which is held with De Beers and the Botswanan government, which manages the process of those diamond sales. And way back in the day, sort of 20 plus years ago, De Beers really had a monopoly on diamond sales. But that monopoly is weakened. In fact, no longer even really. They're a big player, but no longer the only one of note. So the Botswana government, my sense is, we're negotiating quite hard and saying, well, hang on, there are diamonds. You're just essentially an on-seller of the stones. We could find somebody else to do it for us. Not quite a De Beers, but certainly they could. And it seems that there has been some peace made up, and they've finally got to a level of a deal. No details. It looks like those still need to get ironed out. But good news for probably Botswana, who probably got a better deal, and De Beers, because it is also their largest source of uncut stones.
Yeah. Let's conclude the conversation with Kibo Energy, which has published an operating update for the second quarter of 2023. How have they fared in the period under review?
Not a bad update. They're doing renewable energy in sub-Saharan Africa, but really it's more SADC, and then also England and Ireland, where they're looking to put up renewable energy plants. They're very much in startup stage. At this point, they don't have any operating plants, and their biggest challenge is cash flow. They need cash. They tried to raise it earlier in the year. They had a problem at their extraordinary general meeting in terms of people voting. So this really is a penny stock. Trades between 1 and 2 cents. But it's one I always keep an eye on. Not buying it at this point, but if they can get some cash, they can get some of those plants to completion, this certainly has got an interesting future ahead of it.
JustOneLap founder Simon Brown, thank you very much for that markets update.